This is a sound check for Commissioner Witt. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for your patience. I'm so sorry about that.
Yep, thanks.
We'll now call to order the January 13th, 2025 City of Abilene, Kansas City Commission meeting. Sheila, may we please have a roll call?
Mayor Ryan,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Witt,
Present.
Commissioner Kohlhoff,
Here.
Commissioner Meisenberg.
Here.
Roll call is complete.
Okay, can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our next item is selection of mayor, and I would entertain a motion.
I move that you stay mayor? Is that okay or not? Okay, I move that Brandon is the mayor.
I'll second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, would roll call vote. Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kohlhoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item is selection of vice mayor, and I would entertain a motion.
I move that. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Koloff.
Ms. Miller, would you entertain remaining as vice mayor for the next year?
I would be honored. Thank you.
I would make a motion that Wendy Miller be our vice mayor for 2025.
I'll second it.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, would roll call vote. Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kohlhoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Next item, item number 6 is approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written for the January 13th, 2025 City Commission meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, would roll call vote. Commissioner Kohlhoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item is 7, the consent agenda, which consists of the meeting minutes for the December 30th, 2024 regular meeting, a litany of board appointments or reappointments. I will speak to one real quick that required my appointment to the Planning Commission as Kristen Anderson. She does have a Master of Architecture and minor in Community and Urban Planning from K-State. She owns an architectural firm here in Abilene called Foxtail Studios. She works out of her home. She's originally from Iowa, and she's chosen to call Abilene home. And I think she would be a great asset to the Planning Commission, and that is why I decided to appoint Kristen Anderson to the Planning Commission. So
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
A second?
motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, would roll call vote. Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kohlhoff.
Aye.
Myself, yes, motion carries. Our next item, 8A, under public comments and communications, is a public forum. Anyone that would like to address the commission on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Do we have anyone that would like to address the commission on an item not on our agenda? If you could just please state your name and address for us when you step up.
My name is Roger Seymour. I'm from Manhattan, Kansas. We do own a property at 1601 West First. Going to give you an update report so you know where we're at on that. As you are aware, that is a privately owned property. It's a masonry building. It does have a wood framed roof and a shingle roof on top of that. Do not really know how old the building is. We have checked all the roofs, two of the roofs, that being, two of the roof slopes being those down at the, I'm going to call it the shop building, are in good shape. Not going to do anything with those. The two that are at the, what was a separate building for the laundry, we've replaced. We've taken it all the way down. All these roofs, we're taking all the way down, checking the decking, refelting, putting sheeting in if it's bad, and fixing it as if it's going to last. We're putting a 30-year roof on there. We have 6 slopes completely or virtually completely done. They're not capped off. Can't cap off till I get the others done. I got 2 slopes that we got torn off, but we got caught with an unusual storm. You may have heard of it. I am a trustee for a township over in Riley County, and we had anywhere from 17.5 to 22 inches of snow in Riley County at our township. I didn't get out of my personal driveway until 1 o'clock on Tuesday. We made sure that the school district roads were clear. We made sure that the emergency roads were clear. We made sure that all those people that have health issues, those roads were clear. My personal road was 4th in the priority. We got all the others done. Somebody said that's the first time a trustee has ever had their roads put down towards the last end. That's indicative of what we do. Back to the issue at hand. You've got a item that says that we have to be done by February 7th or 8th, whatever your next meeting is, first meeting in February. We won't meet it with this storm. The request or the order was have substantial work done. We believe that checking all the roofs, having 6 of the slopes done, 2 of them opened up and felted, ready to shingle, constitutes substantial. What I would request is to be on the agenda next meeting and for you to officially extend that so we have additional time. So kind of just a report so you know where we're at. Are there any questions?
Just a clarifying point. I don't believe it was the first, I think it was I can't remember the exact meeting when we set that.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was the second meeting that we would put you back on the agenda. And if it was not that completed, then we would move to declare it a dangerous structure, which would give you 45 days, I believe, until the end of March to complete that.
I believe that the order was to have substantial work done, not completed. I think that was the order, but I could be wrong.
I think that we were very clear that we expected to be complete.
Yeah.
This has been how many years that this has been in the process?
That we've officially owned the building. Our business currently as it is has owned the building less than 1 year.
Yeah, but your previous business owned it the year before that and the year
Yeah,
before
that is
that and
correct.
for 15 years before that. Am I right? It was about 15 years?
I'd have to go back and check.
Well, I think the point's been made, and I think this commission was very, very clear what our expectations were. I mean, there's still a process. If we come back on the second meeting of February and we call it a dangerous structure, I think you do have 45 days. I believe it was the end of March.
I believe 31st of March or.
Yeah, we can clarify that. I mean, there's still a process, but
Well, we would ask for you to extend it because of the unusual weather that we've had. In fact, we've done substantial work.
I mean, snow in Kansas in the winter is not unusual.
22 inches of snow is the largest snowfall that we've seen since 1978.
City Attorney
It's
Martin,
the 4th largest snowfall.
can you give us I think you had that pulled
Kansas.
up, correct? The dates, the exact dates on there.
I was looking to pull it up now. I think, just to be clear, we're not conducting the show cause hearing today. That was continued to a date certain in February, I believe, and I was working to pull up that date. But nonetheless, the resolution declaring that particular structure dangerous and unsafe has not yet been adopted. And that would occur in the context of the continued show cause hearing based on evidence presented at that time. I think what Mr. Seymour has conveyed should be restated on the record when we get to the continued show cause hearing, and you can certainly take that into account as you wish. If it is declared dangerous and unsafe, there are procedures in place that would then provide for a reasonable amount of time to commence and complete the work, all of which to be determined by you. So that's the lay of the land. I will continue working towards finding that exact date unless you have any questions.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, I would
End of
just encourage
February.
you to go back and watch that meeting, and you can hopefully understand exactly what was stated at that the meeting, the previous meeting, but again, I've thought about this back and forth, and while we want to help out local property owners and business owners, we don't want to enable them to continue to just let properties fall into the earth.
Okay. I will be asking at that next meeting, the one I've asked to be on, for a list of those properties that are similar condition, because I can identify 8 in this town. I assume that you have those 8 identified and a similar process going.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, Ms. Moore just confirmed that the next scheduled hearing date is February 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to address the commission.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I am back again to demand accountability for our city manager's failure to competently and effectively lead our city. Since I last stood in front of you, there have been further failures on behalf of our city manager. Notably, his failure to accurately account for almost $500,000 in our budget, which forced us to move our meeting to accommodate the notification requirements for the commission to make a budget amendment. Further, despite the commission approving the Reinvestment Housing Incentive District in 2022, Mr. Marsh and the city's seemingly unnecessary and overpaid consultant, Ross Vogel, failed to complete the necessary paperwork and submit that to the state until 2024. This means that the city was unable to benefit from the 2023 tax revenue generated from the Golden Belt Heights development. Further, Mr. March's own documentation shows that he took more vacation days than he was contracted for in 2024, 18 weekdays and 4 weekend days by any measure in excess of his 3-week contractual vacation. Additionally, we're learning that it seems that our 14th Street project has gone over budget. This after our Buckeye Street project was also over budget. Please also don't forget that the city manager lied directly to the city commission by stating that the city was signing a letter of support for the county to apply for KDOT funding for 14th and Van Buren. And then in an act that can only be described as insubordination and without the authority of the city commission, submitted the application to KDOT on behalf of the city. This pattern of behavior is consistent with Mr. Marsh further taking actions on behalf of the land bank for the purpose of variances at Golden Belt Heights without authorization or notification to the land bank. It is said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. What results do we expect for 2025? I expect that if we continue to allow Mr. Marsh to mismanage our city, that the insanity will also continue. Funds will be continually mismanaged. Bloated projects will continue to be championed by the city manager. And unfortunately, lying to our city commission and citizens will continue. My fellow commissioners, I'm asking you to end the insanity and bring qualified leadership to the city of Abilene in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission on an item not on our agenda? Okay, please state your name for us when you come up.
Wendy Moulton, I'm the director of the Abilene Public Library, and I just wanted to publicly thank the fire department for helping my staff across the street in the ice last Saturday to their vehicles and for doing a great job shoveling our sidewalks, which you enjoyed on your way into the building today. So thank you to the fire department for that.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission on an item not on our agenda? Okay, please state your name when you come up.
All right, I'm Tim Holm. And on a positive note, I want to take a minute to acknowledge Brad and his road street crew here in town for really the outstanding job they did getting the snow moved. And I've been here for 42 years and it's always been excellent. Really, really been an excellent job. And I just don't know if people realize the kind of the Herculean effort it takes to get all this snow moved and get it done the way they do it. And the hours and the preparations, fantastic. So just want to thank them for the great job that they've done and for the hours and so forth. Want to thank the commission and city manager for budgeting snow removal to the extent that you do in the budget. Really important. I think it really sends a terrific and a very strong message to the community about quality of life and access, and particularly for the business district. And for, I know for some other cities in the area, there's a lot of complaint or some complaints on the part of the citizens about snow removal, but that really shouldn't be the case here in Abilene. It's just awesome. And if all the first responders, the fire department, even people involved with the county and so forth, just really great and really proud of Abilene, and ask you to keep up the good job there.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission on an item not on our agenda? Okay. Seeing none, I will move into item 8B, National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month Proclamation for 2025. Jamie Shaw with DVAC, and are you planning on reading it? If you'd like to read, you're more than welcome. Save my vocal cords.
All right, yeah, I can do that. All right, National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month proclamation. Whereas millions of men, women, and children are victims of human trafficking, which is the second largest and fastest growing criminal industry in the world. Whereas human trafficking denies victims basic human dignity and freedom, is based on recruiting, harboring, and transporting people through the use of force, fraud, and/or coercion for the purpose of sexual exploitation or forced labor. It is a crime that can take many forms and tear at our social fabric, debase our common humanity, and violate what we stand for as a country. Whereas traffickers frequently target victims and then use violence, threats, lies, false promises, debt bondage, or other forms of control and manipulation to force victims to work against their will or to keep victims involved in commercial sexual exploitation. Whereas the U.S. Justice Department has identified Kansas as an originating state for human trafficking, and most trafficking in Kansas involves local children. Whereas with improved victim identification, medical and social services, training for first responders, and increased public awareness, the victims who have suffered this cruel crime can overcome the bonds of modern slavery, receive protection and justice, and successfully reclaim their rightful independence. And whereas the Domestic Violence Association of Central Kansas is joining forces with victim service providers, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Central Kansas and the United States to observe National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Together, we commit to a society where our sense of justice tells us that united, we can eradicate this wrong and continue to fight for human dignity and the rights of every person. Now, therefore, the City of Abilene Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims January 2025 as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month and applauds the efforts of the many victim service providers, police officers, prosecutors, national and community organizations, and private sector supporters for their effort in opposing human trafficking in all of its forms.
Thank you. And would you like to come up for a picture in between just to give yourself a break?
Sure.
All right.
You want me to come around? That's good. I've done a couple counties, but.
Much better. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, and our next item is 8C, National Stalking Awareness Month Proclamation 2025. Jamie Shaw with DVAC.
National Stalking Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas stalking is intentional harassment, a pattern of behavior directed at a specific person, causing that person to feel fear and endangerment for themselves or their family. The variation in stalking behavior ranges from hang-up phone calls to more direct threats toward a victim. The likelihood of injury increases when the stalking behavior escalates over time. Whereas under the laws of Dickinson County, Kansas, and all jurisdictions in the U.S., stalking is a crime. Whereas the majority of victims are stalked by someone they know, typically an ex-dating partner or acquaintance, and 3 in 4 women are killed by an intimate partner had been stalked by that same intimate partner. Whereas the statistics do not represent the true incidence and prevalence of stalking for multiple reasons, including not all victims report the crime to law enforcement, and stalking is a tactic of domestic violence and sexual abuse, so it may not be reported as a primary form of abuse and victimization, although the victim has experienced stalking along with other forms of abuse. Whereas many stalking victims are forced to protect themselves by relocating, changing their identities, changing jobs, and obtaining protection orders. Whereas many stalking victims lose time from work and experience serious psychological distress and lost productivity at a much higher rate than the general population. Whereas communities can better combat stalking by raising awareness, adopting multidisciplinary responses by teams of local agencies and organizations, and by providing more and better victim services. And now, therefore, the City of Abilene Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim January 2025 as National Stalking Awareness Month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to do a ditto on the picture? Perfect.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, and our next agenda item under business items 9A, consider approval of resolution number 011325-1, a resolution of the City of Abilene, Kansas, declaring a state of local disaster emergency. City Manager Marsh.
Commissioners, this resolution is to declare a state of local disaster emergency for the City of Abilene. The governor of the state of Kansas declared one for the entire state January 4th of 2025. Dickinson County passed theirs on January 9th. Both of those include the City of Abilene. However, it's been my experience, it's better to be safe than sorry and go ahead and issue our own state of local emergency, which hopefully won't have an effect on whether we can draw or recoup any federal funds. So.
Do we have any questions for staff on this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 011325-1, a resolution of the City of Abilene, Kansas, declaring a state of local disaster emergency.
I'll second it.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion?
The sole purpose of this is to potentially recoup any funds that might be made available by FEMA or some other federal agency.
That's my understanding, at least, yeah.
Okay.
Any further commission discussion? Seeing none, move to roll call vote. Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt, Commissioner Koloff,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries. We have no items for discussion. Our next item is 11A, City Manager's Report. City Manager Marsh.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I want to recognize the city crews that went above and beyond last week to help Abilene through last weekend's snow event. You've heard from some of our public, and I appreciate their comments because it's always better, or it always is nicer to hear them from you and the public than from myself sitting here. It's also nice to hear it from the commission. So I would appreciate that if you guys would reach out to them and let them know. But our public works crews, our fire department, our police department, and our parks and recreation department worked around the clock to ensure the safety and welfare of our citizens. Again, I would encourage the governing body and all citizens to thank these dedicated professionals who are worth every penny they are paid. Just to let you know, very rough figures, so please do not hold me to the exact number here. But the amount of hours worked above and beyond the normal 8-hour day total for everybody working is 728 last week. That correlates into between $25,000 and $30,000 in pay or in costs. So again, please make sure you know how much they're appreciated. And I appreciate you guys that have reached out to me already. The cost breakdown for the 14th Street project is at your seat. If you have any questions, please contact Leanne or myself. The Spruce Way Waterline project that you approved in December or late November, early December is on hold for now, obviously because of the weather. And the 2025 C-CLIP project scheduled for this year, which is Buckeye from the Union Pacific Railroad to Northwest Fifth Street, has been rescheduled until 2026. KDOT has agreed to move the project back. That's all the report.
Okay, our next item is 12A, motion to adjourn. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Just quick, motion has been moved and seconded, but quick point of clarification. Are you all amenable to moving directly into the study session? Need a 5-minute break, 10-minute? What's
I
the,
can move right into it.
I'm good.
okay, all right. Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into roll call vote. Commissioner Miller, or sorry, Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kolhoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries. We are in recess. I will now call to order the January 13th, 2025 City of Abilene, Kansas City Commission Study Session. Our first agenda item is 2A, grant agreement with the Department of Commerce. City Manager Marsh.
Commissioners, over the past several years, the city has applied for numerous grants to put the infrastructure in our industrial park along 14th Street. That's water, sewer, a road, and it will require a lift station out that way. These improvements will create shovel-ready commercial sites on city-owned property, as I said, between 14th Street and I-70. The improvements include water lines, sewer lines, lift station, and a north-south road to each city lot. Some of the grant highlights are the term of the grant is through December 31st, 2028. The amount of the grant is $2.5 million. There's a 30% match from the city, which equates to $750,000. And the city will create 50 jobs at the industrial park within the 3 years of the date of the agreement, or have a commitment to those 50 jobs. This is up for discussion. At your seat, you will find kind of a history or kind of how we got to where we're at with this. And so I know Mayor Ryan's been involved in this, our CVB director has been involved in this, so we can answer any questions that you might have. And I will point out one thing on the contract. I have not received the the edited or amended version from the Department of Commerce, but the only difference after our city attorney reviewed it is one of the dates. We changed one of the dates, extended it from, I believe it said January 31st, 2026, and it's now should be 2028. So we pointed that out to him, so.
I guess my question is, what jobs do we think the city's going to create, and what happens if there's no jobs, or there's 49 jobs?
Yeah, so it's a valid question. And after, I think I'll have Director Roller Weeks come up just to kind of give her rundown of the last 3 years of trampling the State House that we've done together. So there is that jobs requirement in there. Really what would be focusing on are bringing in some new businesses that would create those organically, obviously. But the problem we were running into in that entire industrial park area is that we had the land there. Access to I-70 is right there. It's a dream come true for someone wanting to relocate a business venture. The problem was it's pretty difficult to ask a business owner like that to build a lift station, put in all the infrastructure, do all of that themselves. Specifically on a lift station, because it's not just benefiting them, it's really holding the water, or I'll use water as a term, holding the water and pushing the water for the other businesses in the area as well. So they're really bearing that brunt. Specifically on the jobs portion, Julie, I don't know if you have had any experience with previous grants at a job requirement. I think we've had a couple in the past, but
Julie Roller Weeks, Abilene Convention and Visitors Bureau Director, and I'm sure Jessica could speak to this better than I can. We've been working on this for multiple years, dating back all the way to when Bradford had an interest in coming to Abilene and asked the city to put an infrastructure to accommodate their new business. And we couldn't do it, and we couldn't do it quickly, and we didn't have a mechanism to pay for it. Since then, we've been looking at every potential funding opportunity. We applied for grant after grant after grant. And finally, thank you to the help of our legislators, Senator J.R. Clays, Speaker Hawkins, Senate President Ty Masterson. We received special appropriation funding from the Kansas legislature for $2.5 million. We cannot ask a private business to come in and put in their own infrastructure and a $900,000 lift station when the next guy who puts a business in is going to also reap those benefits. We have I-70 land, as Mayor Ryan explained. We've had, when I visited previously with economic development, every week they get requests from the Kansas Department of Commerce saying, send us your shovel-ready lots. We can't do that. And so, yes, I mean, we are talking about an economic development project with a job guarantee of 50 jobs. Any economic development project in the state is going to have a tie to jobs, and we're going to do our absolute best. There is a clause in there that says the Department of Commerce has discretion over that. And I think as long as they see that we are helping to make these certified sites through the Kansas Department of Commerce, and we're doing our absolute best in partnership with Dickinson County Economic Development, that we can hopefully get those jobs there. If Abilene wants to grow its tax base, we have to have these lots.
Do we have any questions for Director Roller Weeks?
And if we have businesses, those business travelers will stay in our hotel rooms.
Director Goodell, do you have anything that you would like to address the commission on? Sorry, I didn't look over that way and see you sitting there.
Yes, Jessica Goodell, Executive Director for the Dickinson County Economic Development. So a couple things that are just something that we understand in the economic development world, but our daily citizens really might not understand is what is shovel ready. So we receive weekly, as Julie had mentioned, from the Kansas Department of Commerce. Their business recruitment department is working very hard to get attraction from businesses all over the United States and the world to come to Kansas and to develop in Kansas and to either, take advantage of our commercial opportunities. Kansas is centrally located, the railways, the interstate. There's a lot of great things we can tout. Abilene is fantastic because of we have 2 exits on I-70. We are 25 minutes away from I-35 and our railway system, and we do have an airport. So we have a lot of things we can use to tout. But the Department of Commerce will send us an email every single time they have any kind of business that is looking for RFPs. So they will send that to all of their regional level economic development groups. Every single time the request is for a shovel-ready site. A business is not interested in getting a piece of land. So they will detail out what the request is. Maybe it's a certain amount of square footage. Maybe it needs to be a certain amount of distance between a major highway, or airport. So there's certain requirements that they'll request, and then how many jobs that we can fill. We can't answer to any of those because we don't have a shovel-ready site. So shovel-ready means that our infrastructure is already developed and it's ready to go. So even if that's an empty warehouse, that's still okay. So we're not able to respond and really put Abilene out there. So a lot of times in the news, you'll hear about a new manufacturing or some kind of an industry that's coming to Salina or any of these other areas around us. And people say, why didn't an Abilene get a bid on that? And that's why we don't have enough places. We also work with the Department of Commerce on getting site certified locations. So we currently do not have any locations right now that are certified sites. So if we had the infrastructure, the next step would be that we would be working closely with the Kansas Department of Commerce to get it to be a certified site. And that just bumps up our attraction to all of our business recruitment efforts, that this is a certified site through the Kansas Department of Commerce. It's ready to go. I would be personally working very closely with the city of Abilene to ensure that these 50 jobs are filled. And knowing that that's a requirement of this grant helps us to know what kind of businesses we're going to be recruiting. So we work hard to make sure that the commercial groups that might be entertaining these properties are going to specifically be bringing jobs. And then the conversations that we also have right now with our businesses are, who are your suppliers that would ideally be located closer to you? It would be really nice if we could recruit a supplier of a current successful business in Abilene to be located at one of these sites. That way, it's not just bringing in jobs, it's not bringing in business, it's not, widening our tax base, but it's also benefiting an existing job, or existing business. So that's the conversations we're having right now. We just don't have sites available. So if you have any questions about shovel ready or what this could do, please let me know.
Are there any, I'm looking through the notes here. Are there any requirements for the type of jobs that are out there? They could be minimum wage jobs and Commerce is cool with that.
I think it's also important to note we'd be working with the neighbors and making sure that we're bringing in the right kind of business that Abilene wants to have. So essentially, I would fully support this grant. I know that the city of Abilene and members of the staff have been working extraordinarily hard to get this done. I think this is a fantastic opportunity. I can't imagine not taking the opportunity to get a grant to have assistance. Otherwise, this is not going to happen. The DKDC is a nonprofit. We don't have the funds to create a shovel-ready site. City of Abilene does it itself. This is the only way we're going to get it done.
Do you have any other questions or discussion on this grant agreement with the Department of Commerce?
Just clarification. So it's 18 acres divided into 4 shovel-ready lots. Is that correct?
Correct, Commissioner Miller. It's just under 20 acres divided into 4 lots.
Thank you.
There's no mention of the funding source from the city. What is the proposal for that?
You're going to have to decide as a commission how we're going to pay for that.
Anybody have any suggestions?
I would want to discuss, personally, I'd want to discuss with Finance Director Johnson first, just to, he knows the ins and outs of that much better than I do.
Finance Director Johnson, do you have any suggestions?
I do not at this very time. I'd have to look at it. I'm still working on 2024's end of the year. So once I have a good idea of what that is, we can see where we are with our 2025 budget and what it looks like in 2026.
Are there any restrictions on how we fund that? I mean, could we put that on specials and bond it out?
Absolutely. That would be off the top of my head, that would be my recommendation, but we would like to we would like to examine and make sure aren't other opportunities.
Yeah, personally, that's where my thought process was going as well, but I don't know the ins and outs of restrictions on that, but we can work through that. They're just from personal experience. Oh. Would you come up to the podium, please? Then just state your name again.
All right. Yeah, I'm Tim Home, and I just thought I'd make a few comments in support, kind of a broad support, because I don't really know all the details, and I'm sure that things will have to be worked out. For instance, how you're going to finance it and different things. But I'm sure that for an opportunity this wonderful, we can surely find a way to if all the details, when you get it all looked out, looks like it makes sense. I, like you, have a few questions about the 50 jobs in 3 years. By the time you get it done and somebody gets in there, it might be a little tight, but I'm sure that the state will be open-minded on it. I'm not sure, Russell Stover's moved in there around 94, I think, out there. We finished our building on 21st Street in 94, and I think it was not long after we got moved up there that Russell Stover's was there. So we're talking, 30 years now that there's not really been a lot has taken place up there. And it's a golden opportunity that has probably lacked ambition and forethought in terms of how we'd get this infrastructure and platting and everything done. We know we've missed one opportunity. Whether that was the right opportunity for us or not, I don't know. But one of the issues I know that resulted from that opportunity was that there was no real master plan for it. So it's just kind of a question of whether that was the right opportunity for the land and how we're going to put it all together. So I really embrace the idea of pursuing this. It looks to me like the state's contributing about 4 times the amount of money that we would be contributing. And I would think that if we were not able to move forward on it, the legislatures and the people in the legislature would not be very interested in kind of putting themselves out to try to get another opportunity like this for us. So it's needed to be platted and infrastructure done for some time. I'd really like to see the road improved out there, that connects out there to Fair Road. But I think it's a great opportunity as a business owner and someone who's been here for over 40 years. I'd like to, I know Abilene's been very good for us, but I think we've missed an opportunity to grow along the way. And if we don't grow, find the right type of growth, and we don't grow as we should, then we begin to move backwards. And we know that rural communities are really kind of under threat right now. We don't have to be that community that's under threat. We really ought to be the shining example on the prairie of what can be done here. We have a lot of assets. I don't think anybody needs to have those recited. We might as well add this to it and really get an opportunity to improve our economic engine here, the development, the investment, the additional taxpayers, and employment. I think it'd be a really great opportunity. And I look forward to hearing what you come up with as you begin to work through the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. And then as I was starting to say, some of the background too, there were these building base grants, building a stronger economy grants that were flowing through I think it was the Legislative Coordinating Council who was really divvying those up. So basically when we first went to the legislature, I believe it was the 11th hour in April of 2023. We got a text or a call that evening before, and we headed up to Topeka the next morning. I think it was probably dark when we started driving there, and then it was pushing midnight by the time we got back. It was a long day with a lot of steps, but it got us in front of a lot of the legislative leadership, and then specifically some of the Ways and Means chair and vice chair in the Senate, and the appropriations chair and vice chair in the House. And what was happening then was there was for these grants coming down, or this Build Kansas fund that was being created for federal funds that came down. They didn't want to create multi-year funding needs of these projects for federal funds that were one time. So they allocated $50 million over the next 4 years for, I think it was 24, 25, 26, 27. So we went through that process because that actually allowed us to attempt to take funds from the bipartisan infrastructure law that was signed into law. Agree with it or not, the funds were available, so we wanted to make a crack at it and get that whole area updated and in a good position economically to move forward. We were quite certain after working through that we would not be selected. But we went through the whole process with BIL and Build Kansas. We were approved on the state level. But as we found out, and we were quite certain of it, we would be denied by the feds because it didn't meet a litany of I will hold my tongue here, but requirements that the federal government placed on it. It's amazing with an infrastructure law, infrastructure is not included in most cases. So anyway, we went back to the legislature and discussed with them the issues with it. Basically, this was during a conference committee, this was inserted as a proviso into the budget, with the only caveat coming from the appropriations chair Waymaster that if the city of Abilene received federal funding, this would be null and void. The Department of Commerce would not allocate these funds. So we attempted to do it without local match at all. We attempted to leverage the state's Build Kansas funding to cover our local match, but that didn't happen. So really, we kind of got a little bit of a sweetheart deal from the legislature in doing this. And so it's been a little bit of work in progress. It's always been, the sites have always been moving, it seems, much like Topeka does. And so just a little bit more background. It's been ran about through every gamut that we could. And we really were trying to remove or minimize any local match as a requirement. But when we had to go directly from the state as an appropriation, there's almost always a local match requirement in there. So we were thankful to get that $2.5 million, which, you know, if you look at our levied property tax dollars annually, that's about $500,000 less than our levied property tax dollars. So that's a big win for Abilene. I know $2.5 million, and this day and age doesn't go as far as it used to, but that's when you quantify it that way, it's a big win for us. So I just wanted to give a little more of my own personal background and what we worked on. Probably didn't explain it very well, but so anyway. Do we have any other questions, comments, discussion on the grant agreement with the Department of Commerce?
Is there a deadline date that we need to take action? Or the sooner the better?
I don't believe there's an actual deadline in it.
There's not, excuse me, Commissioner Miller, there's not an actual deadline. I think we put on a study session. We'll have 2 weeks to talk, discuss, ruminate, whatever you want to do with it. And then we'll bring it to the commission for approval next meeting, which will be the 27th of January.
And the last question I have, on section 8, the default, it says we need to create 50 jobs by January 1st, 2026.
That's the day I was talking about, that we've requested or changed it, sent it back to Commerce and asked them to change that to 2028 to match the previous statement in the.
Thank you for the clarification.
And just conveying my thoughts on it. So yeah, in 2 weeks when this comes back to us, definitely as you know, want to make sure that 2028 date is corrected. And then if we could have some options worked up for funding of the match. I know we don't necessarily have to have that all figured out when we approve it, but it'd be good to at least have some framework or guidance of the options where we can pull those funds from.
We'll definitely have some ideas worked up and some other things to talk about.
Hey, Ryan, just one additional point. This project is included in our comprehensive plan. So that was our supporting documentation. Additionally, this 2.5 million cannot be used for anything else. That always tends to be a question that comes up from the public. We cannot take this for any other projects. It is specifically for this industrial park project.
Thank you for that clarification.
I guess my preference would be to have a funding mechanism and discuss that in a study session prior to approving any grant proposal. I think the grant proposal is the cart in front of the horse unless we've got a way to pay for it.
Yeah, I don't really have a preference on it. And I'm assuming that January 1 date, it's pretty hard. We just don't want to, I guess my point is we don't want to push it too far. We want to get it figured out as quick as possible so that clock doesn't keep running without us making any progress.
We could certainly talk about and come up with a plan for the funding mechanism and approve it at the same time. So.
Do we have any further questions, comments, discussion on the grant agreement with the Department of Commerce? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into item 2B, Dickinson County Rural Water District Number 2, response to letter dated 8/28/2024. City Manager Marsh.
Commissioners, we've received a response to our letter that the commission instructed me to send October 28th at the October 28th sorry, at the whenever we sent it in last year. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. Oh, sorry, August 26th. October 28th was when we signed the contract with the Rural Water District back in 1998. Sorry. Anyway, the August 26th meeting. So I would recommend you move into executive session to discuss the negotiations on this, on their response.
I move the city commission recess into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss with legal counsel the terms and conditions of the city's agreement with Rural Water District Number 2 and negotiation of amendments thereto based upon the need for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to KSA 45-7319B2. The open meeting will resume in this room at 5:11 PM.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Koloff,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion carries. We are in executive session. Trevor, I'll call you. We will now resume our regular meeting. From executive session, no action was taken. Do we have any other discussion on that item? We went directly into executive session. I don't think we've got anything. Just wanted to. Okay. Seeing none, our next item is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, would roll call vote. Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Kolhoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries. We are adjourned.